The room was lifeless, suffocatingly small, dangerously dark, and deathly silent. There were webs everywhere, connecting from corner to corner, free falling from the ceiling, running endlessly across the walls and through the panels of the floor. The smell of dust and mold was strong and strangling, like the feeling of déjà vu running through my being. This seemed to be a place I had visited before. Yes, I had certainly been in this place and experienced this feeling before. The room, my mind. The feeling, depression. I had almost forgotten. Naked truth. This was not my first rodeo with depression. I was acutely aware of this phenomenon. However, the pain was no longer palpable, as over the years the dust and mold had accumulated and covered the profound pangs first felt after the death of Mom, then again with the tragic birth of my first child. These two events faded into the distance as the decades passed, but with the birth of my third child, the dust was being disturbed, the mold removed, and depression, my arch nemesis, was resurfacing and rearing its ugly head once again. In fact, this third rodeo was postpartum depression, to be exact, coupled with a lifetime of uncontrolled anxiety, and somehow I had a sneaky suspicion that there was also an unknown antagonist in the midst. These three conundrums collided and began running wild. I found myself in yet another one of life's entanglements, and I knew I had to get out so that I could be my best self and live my best life.
What are the first words that come to mind when you think of a person with cancer? You may have thought some things like brave, sick, strong, warrior. What are the first words that come to mind when you think of a person with a mental illness? We commonly hear people say things like weak, sad, violent, unstable, crazy, even looking for attention. This is stigma in action. First, let's define stigma. According to Merriam-Webster, stigma is a mark of shame or discredit. The Cambridge Dictionary defines stigma as a strong feeling of disapproval that most people in a society have about something, especially when that disapproval is unfair. Historically, the stigma associated with mental illness caused mentally ill people to be institutionalized, thrown in jail, or even killed. People did not understand mental illness, so they were afraid of it. While these atrocities have greatly diminished in our world today, stigma is still alive and well in our societies. Here is how we may see stigma today. Many people attribute mental illness as a weakness or character flaw, but the reality is that mental illness is a disease of the brain. People with depression are sick, just like people with cancer. Like cancer patients, people with mental illness are strong and brave because they battle their illness every day, oftentimes alone. But many people refer to them as crazy or unstable. Finally, many people say those with mental illness just want attention, which is untrue, invalidating, and hurtful. Stigma is harmful because it prevents us from opening up to others about our struggles and from seeking treatment. The negative effects of stigma are very strong. The average delay between the onset of symptoms and the start of treatment is 8 to 11 years. We would never wait that long if we had a broken bone or trouble breathing. Lack of mental health knowledge and lack of access to care also prevent us from getting treatment, but stigma plays a large role as well. So what can we do about it? Thankfully, things are improving. Here are some other steps that you can take to be a mental health ally. Be educated on and literate in mental health. This is the best way to combat stigma. Use the right language. Avoid saying things that perpetuate stigma, like, I'm so bipolar right now, or you're so OCD about cleaning, or they're just acting crazy so that they can get attention. Be open-minded. Listen to people who have experienced mental illness, how they have been stigmatized, and how it has affected their lives. Speak up and correct others who do stigmatize. And finally, create a safe and supportive environment for those living with mental illness. We hope you found this information helpful. We at Mental Health Collaborative are committed to providing education and increasing awareness about all of the interrelated states of mental health. We hope that by doing this, stigma decreases and more people get proper treatment and support for mental illnesses. Learn when to get help, where to get help, and what to expect when they get there.
So for those of you who don't know me, I am Beverly R. Williams, aka Be Will Inspires. And from I knew, or from the beginning of my time, from I knew myself, I've been inspiring and empowering others just to be their best selves and live their best lives. It's just my life's goal, it's my passion. And I've been doing this in homes, in schools, in the community, in businesses. I've been doing this in institutions, what do you call it? Reform institutions. And so this is something that I just love to do. So I'm just happy that you're joining me. Now, to keep up with events like this, to keep up with events like the one that we're having now, and I want y'all to forgive me because I know the ones who were here last night and hearing me saying, okay, Bev, something's going on. Yes, we're having some technical difficulties and I am a little distracted. So we're talking about naked truths, right? So that's the naked truth right now. So if you feel like I'm not quite here with you, I am distracted, forgive me. But I want you to keep up with Be Will Inspires for events like this and more. We have a lot of exciting stuff. We have all kinds of exciting stuff. And how do you keep up with Be Will Inspires? You can go to, I'm just so excited that even though I used to go in the homes, schools, and now I can just go to the world with all of the encouragement that I have inside of me. And so you can get me on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Okay, so let's see. So you go and check it out. Those who, now I know some of you who are on here, you missed last night. So you can go to, you're in luck because for tomorrow, that's the 28th. For the 28th, right through the 31st of May, you can go and you can get last night's presentation. It'll be on my YouTube channel. And so then you'll see the beginning of my story and you can catch up. And then last night was really special. Why? Because we had the young adults. We had 2 young adults that joined us, my daughters, and they gave us the young adult perspective on mental health and it was really interesting. It was really interesting. So go there and check it out. So here's the thing. Okay. So here's the thing. Like I said last night, this 2-day presentation and conversation is an attempt, a small attempt by me to do my small part in doing what? In changing the narrative and in changing perspectives on mental health issues. I also mentioned when you were here last night, those who were here, I also mentioned that the 2-day presentation was inspired by a beloved book project that I've been working on now for some time, and it's finally coming to completion. So look, I'm really excited about this because just like you saw in the clip, the stigma that goes with mental health, period. But when I say mental health, in particular mental illnesses, but even those who have mental health crisis, those who have mental health because some people have mental health crisis. It's just for a period, and then some people live with mental illness for a lifetime. And no matter what, just mental health, the whole area of mental health. So there's a stigma that is attached to it. And so why I am here is so that we, the general population, you and me, we can all partner together and we can go from stigmatize to normalize, where it's not a big deal to talk about mental health issues, right? And I want us to go from shame to claim. I said this last night. What do I mean by that? I want us to go from being afraid or ashamed to share our truths to claiming, courageously claiming and owning our stories of mental health issues or problems or challenges. All right. And when we do that together, we stamp out, right? We stamp out stigma, or at a minimum, we reduce stigma and discrimination. And so that is it. That is my welcome. I hope you feel, I want you to communicate with me in the chat. I think the technical issue has been taken care of. And so I want you to communicate with me in the chat. In fact, I see something in the chat already. But before I get to that, I want you to sit back and enjoy our feature presentation for tonight. Now, those who were with me last night, they're getting ready for a video presentation. I know you're getting ready for a video presentation, but here at Be Will Inspires, you can never expect the same thing. So what happened? We're not going to have the video presentation that I had previously planned for tonight. So I'll tell you what the name of it was: Overcoming Depression, Be Nurtured. And actually, it was an overview of the second chapter of this book that I'm telling you about. And so, but we're not doing that tonight. Instead, we're doing something super special. What am I doing? Well, so since you're not going to be viewing that tonight, what we're going to be doing, you will hear firsthand from my core support team as I was going through this crisis. My core support team and how they supported, cared for, and how they nurtured me through this crisis, or how they tried, how they did everything in their power to get me through this tough time. And in addition, they will also, this is really why I said, nah, they can get my video another time. These guests, these special guests, they're going to share their parts of their story of how they also struggled at some point with a mental health challenge or issue. So I'm just excited about tonight. I'm just really, really excited about tonight, because remember, what are we here for? We are here to share, to talk, to normalize, right? To normalize and not stigmatize, educate and liberate. And we're here to just claim and not shame. And now, like I say, I want you, you're on, and I want you to join in the conversation. Just put your thoughts in, drop your comments, and let's get this conversation going. So let's get started. Let's get started. Tonight, like I said, I have my 4 core supporters with me. I've got my #1 supporter, my ride or die hubby, Pastor Craig Williams. He'll be joining me soon. And I also have from the, I don't know, I thought these people would be coming up on the screen. I don't know what's going on, but I also have, well, you'll see them as they come. So I have my one only best and favorite blood sister. Now, some of you have multiple sisters. Y'all don't have the privilege to be saying my best and my favorite. But I have my one only favorite best sister, who is also on tonight. She's right from here. I forgot to say my husband is hailing all the way from Southampton, Bermuda. My sister is right from here in the Bahamas, Nassau, the Bahamas. And she is Dr. Pearl Macmillan, the current CMO, Chief Medical Officer for the Bahamas. And then I have my 2 soul sisters. 2 soul sisters. One will be chiming in from she's hailing from Chicago. That's Lisa Minis Muesigwa. And then my other soul sister, she'll be chiming in from North Carolina. So I'm just so excited. I'm just so excited to get this conversation going. And we're going to start with Lisa. Where are you, Lisa? Lisa, are you
I'm
there?
here. Can you hear me? Can you hear
Hey,
me?
okay. So I'm not gonna be seeing your beautiful face tonight. Oh,
Yeah.
here we go.
I'm outside. I got off work late, so I have to commute. So I say I found a park in Chicago, so you'll see the dog walkers and all that.
Hey, we could do with some dog walkers in Chicago. We could do with that. Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, and drop it in the chat. Are you hearing her properly? Are you hearing Lisa? Excellent. Everybody's saying yes. So Lisa, we're good to go. Thank you.
Great.
I'm sorry you had to leave. I'm sorry you had to leave work early. Excellent.
Well, you
Good
know, we're an
evening.
hour
Yes.
behind you guys.
I'm sorry?
We're an hour. It's a difference of an hour with you guys.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, thanks so much. Now, I talked yesterday, and even the people who are here today, they saw the beginning of my story, just the beginning. And who knew when we met on the playground in elementary school that we'll be here today? I don't know about you, but I didn't know that we would be here in this capacity. But as I said in the intro video, it was a time in my life in 2006. Both you and I were living in Michigan. And I shared how after the birth of my third son, Asher, I went through some tough times. But what a lot of the people who are on today don't know is that you were there from before my depression started to sit in. Tell them what happened on the night that Asher was born. What happened late in the night? We'll start from there.
Oh man, you got me on the spot. You think my memory that good, Bev? Okay.
Well, I could jog it. It's nothing major. I could just tell you what I did. Drop the two girls off to you.
Hey, I got that midnight call. It was like, look, we have to bring the kids over because she's getting ready to deliver. I was like, what? I was prepared, but you know, that moment is a different thing. And of course, I was happy to receive them, and we were waiting for the, the final hoorah.
The final hoorah. The final hoorah is correct. And that night, everything was happy and celebratory. Now let's fast forward to a few months. A few months after that, all that hoorah and happiness for me turned into not so hoorah. And right. I would just give a general, because I had all of this in details in the video, but I would just be crying, depressed, not eating. And Lisa was there for me. She supported, she nurtured. Look, when I was crying and the baby was crying, Lisa would take the baby out my hand, and I would always say, she would put him in one grip. Immediately he would stop crying. You remember that, Lisa?
I couldn't breastfeed, but I had a little hookup with the boob.
Exactly. And many times he would just stop crying because I think he thought the milk was about to come.
What was happening? Yeah, it wasn't happening, but it was all right.
Exactly. So while I was crying, the baby crying, Lisa was right there in the midst supporting. She would cook, and that girl could cook. She would cook, and I couldn't eat. I was just dropping weight. Anyway, but Lisa stuck in there, and she gave me the nurture, all the support that she could. And that's very critical, because I was at some low points with the bad, negative thoughts going through my head. If I didn't have Lisa there, I don't think I'll be here today. But what I have Lisa on for is not to talk about me. I want Lisa to share how 7 years earlier, something very similar happened to you, Lisa. Ooh, are you there? Okay,
Hello?
You're still here with me.
Sorry.
So that's okay. So now let's go back to 7 years earlier when something similar happened to you. And remember, we're here tonight to share and talk, because we're here to help somebody get through what they're going through or what they will go through. Or so we're trying to just talk and get this conversation going. So go, Lisa.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing. I had my daughter, Ebony. I was full-time in school, In fact, I had Ebony on a Wednesday, and I went back to school on a Monday. So I
Wow.
was really pushing the midnight oil. I was working full time. My husband was at Oakwood. I was at A&M, and it was just a ride. And I had Gio was about 3 or 4. He was a toddler, and I didn't recognize the signs of me being overwhelmed and even
Ah,
depressed. And I remember a couple times, Bev, because you were in a situation where you had just had Alea too. So Alea and Ebony are months apart. So we were just sharing stories as young moms, right?
yes,
But every
yes.
time I think you would call me, I was in tears. Now, people are not really tearful and me, but I think I was extra and I couldn't hide it. And so that triggered you being very concerned about me and saying, Lisa, this is not like you. Like, what's going on? I'm
Right.
like, what's going on? Can you share with me? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just always crying. And I'm just like tearful all the time. I just start crying. And I was like, am I going crazy? Am I just, what is this?
Wow.
Sorry about that. My battery's going down. That's the devil is a liar. But but I remember you saying to me, Lisa, I'm gonna send a ticket for you, because Ebony was under 2 at that time, and she was like, be there, just come for a week, and Craig and I are just gonna love on you because I think you're having postpartum depression. I'm like, what the heck is postpartum depression? I don't know what that is. And she was
Wow.
like, well, all the signs are there. So I said, well, you must be no better than me. So of course you were like, I'm not taking no for an answer. You're coming here. And so I wanted to bring Ebony because she wasn't fully weaned off the breast yet. So I brought her. And let me tell you, the first thing I did was sleep, because Craig was like, you're not going anywhere. You're just here to relax. And I think he took off days from work too. And Jess was like, we're catering to you. And man, just getting some sleep was like a pill. Okay. Because I don't think I had slept in a long
Sleep,
time doing
sleep was your
finals and
oh,
sleep was, I think I'm sleep deprived and I love my sleep. I love me some sleep. So that was the first thing. But then all the nurturing, and then you were like, okay, let's talk. And then other things I hadn't really shared with anyone that I didn't even think was a problem. You know, being a young mom and just stressed out to the max. We were able to sit down and talk. And thankfully, I think that was the trick, plus the beautiful Bermuda. It was beautiful. So I was like, yay. And by the time I got home, my husband was like, oh, wow, they need to send you there again because it's working. So that was my story in a nutshell.
wow. So,
But you
I
had
mean,
also been with me when I had a breakdown in college. My first breakdown was in college. And a lot of you guys, all my Bahamian crew was there for me then. So, you know, life can take you down some pathways, honey.
so that is interesting. And I find this interesting. I'm glad you even brought up the college one. But let me just
Mm-hmm.
stick to when you talk about the postpartum, because a lot of times as young mothers, you know, we're just trying to do so much. And even just now, when you said, I didn't even realize you had gone back to school within 72 hours, Lisa. Hello? I lost you?
Sorry, say
No,
that
I
again.
say a lot of times as young mothers, we do so much, even young, just, you know, I didn't realize that you had gone back to school in 72 hours of giving birth to Ebony.
Yeah, I mean, it's good when you what to expect when you're expecting. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, it's good to read those books, what to expect when you're expecting, but every person is different. And
Exactly.
I think even every is different. With my first one, at Geo, my mom was there for a longer period of time, and she helped me get through some of the hiccups. We were in Michigan then, and she came over and she stayed. But
So
Ebony was
you had
born
that
in
support.
19...
You had that support
Yes.
that was critical.
And so that helped me through. And I mean, my mom would, you know, she had me sweating a little bit with Gio because she'd be like, you want me to help you? She's like, because I don't want to help you unless you needed my help. And I was like, hey, woman, come on in here and help me, okay? With Ebony, my mom wanted to stay, but she was planning my grandmother's 100th birthday party. Grammy was born in 1899, Ebony was born in 1999. So she could only come for like a 2-day period, or I think it was like maybe 5 days. Then she had to go. So I think all of that, I was mourning not being for my grandmother's birthday. And my grandmother called me and was like, come on with that baby. You didn't take care of her, breastfeed, you know? And I'm like, 100 years old? Come on, Grammy, don't do it. But that was part of all of it.
Yes. Wow. And thanks for even touching on how you had even had an incident or a time way before then when you were in college, and you felt like you were overwhelmed, and you found yourself in this similar place.
Yeah, that time in college, I had no clue what I was facing. Our family had a big event. My dad ran for office and he lost. That, you know, he was a big time opposition of the government at that time. And that was a defeating loss, but he also, because he showed his opposition flavor, the government of the day, he lost his job, he lost everything. And our family started on a spiral down. And I didn't think it affected me as bad as it did. And also my brother was knocked down and he was in the hospital and, you know, was in intensive care and almost died. And then shortly after, I went off to college thinking I was escaping everything because I had to be strong for mom, strong for dad. I was the oldest, I had to be strong. And that's all I knew, trying to be strong. When I went off to school, I think everything just broke down because it was like, okay, you don't have to be strong for anybody, just do you. So I found myself not wanting to get up to go to bathe, to go to class, to do anything. And of course, the girls, you guys were like, I don't know what you're trying to do, but you finna graduate. So you better get up, hit those showers. Water only came on twice a day, but you gotta go on there and get it when it's on and bathe and come to class.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So
I'm sorry, some dust got in my mouth.
Okay. So you said, and I'm gonna just wrap this up, but you said something that's very critical, and you talked about being strong. And many times as women, or just as individuals, even as men, people look at us as being the strong one. And I really have to put a plug in for, and I don't even know the name of the author. If someone is on, who can put, there's a Bahamian author who has a book named The Strong One. And actually they have a meeting that is going to be happening tomorrow. But excellent. Dr. Giovanna Jones. Thank you so much, Steph. Thank you so much, Dr. Hutchinson. Dr. Giovanna Jones, she has a book talking about the strong one. And I actually went to the first meeting, but because I was preparing for this, I didn't follow up. But it was a great meeting. And if anybody could join in tomorrow for that, I guess it can really help those who feel like they have to be the strong one and whatever it is. So I just want to thank you so much, Lisa. We could stay here all day and we can talk. I see something else coming in the chat. I don't know. Okay, that was the last thing. Excellent. The author, Dr. Jones, will be sharing. Awesome. So tomorrow you can join. Dr. Hutchinson, you can give me what it's called too. The actual, because I have it in my phone, but you can put that in the chat. All right. And you can join that tomorrow. But Lisa, I want to thank you so much. And I'm saying to anybody who's on, who feels like you're always the strong one, or who feels like Lisa, that you have to be the strong one, or anybody who is on, who has gone through, or you can identify with Lisa and us. And wherever you can talk or get more information about this, you just go and join. So Lisa, thank you so much for coming. You have just, I'm sorry?
I said, you're welcome.
Yes, much love, much kisses. I don't know if you have to go back to work, but if you could stay on, you hang in there. And I'll see you. We'll, of course, we talk all the time. So I'll be talking to you soon. All right. And I see in the chat, it's a virtual book club Friday, May 28th at 6 p.m. Thank you so much for putting that in the chat. Good evening, Beverly. I have to go to another meeting. God bless. Thank you so much, Wendell. Thank you for being on and joining. That's my high school buddy. Thank you so much. God bless. Now, for you who are still on, I have a sister friend, another soul sister. And look, ladies, we know what it is to have them soul sisters, right? I have a soul sister, and listen to me, she's hailing, like I said, from North Carolina. She wasn't with me in Michigan. I met this soul sister over 2 decades ago. I met her in Bermuda. Look, we could be on here until sunrise as well. So she wasn't with me while I was in Michigan. I see her face popped up. Hey, Shay. Hey. So that's my soul sister. Now listen, what I forgot to tell you, these 2 sisters, they doing some great stuff. Lisa is in corporate America. This soul sister here, she is, I don't even know. She's humble, and she may not want me to go into all that she is blessed to be doing right now, but she's about to be finished her PhD. I just thought I'll say that softly. We still friends? Okay, good. But listen to me. She has such an exciting story. And what I have in my notes is that not one book, not 2 books can chronicle her amazing story. So Shay, welcome. Thanks for being on. Let me hear your voice. I can't hear Shay.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
I got you.
Yeah, good
Hey,
evening.
I hear you. Thanks for coming on. So look, okay, how am I going to say this? Lisa and I just spoke, and we shared our story, our naked truths about the challenges of mental health, the struggles we had with mental health, that came out of motherhood, right? Both of us postpartum depression. But tonight, Shayna is here to share how motherhood can affect people differently. Motherhood can affect people differently. And she is here to share with us just a snippet, because like I say, we could be here till sunrise. Well, we're going to be here as the Spirit leads, but she is here to share how motherhood has, I see someone in the comments saying, oh, yes, indeed. Okay, so motherhood affects people differently, and she's going to share her story. That's all I'm going to say. I'm done for now. I'll chime in.
Okay, good evening again. And so I'm going to give this disclaimer. I am a crier. I'm gifted at shedding tears. And so if a few come out tonight, please know that that is not a sign of my weakness. It is indeed my strength, and I use it as necessary.
Yes.
It is my everyday armor. And so as Beverly said, motherhood affects everyone differently. And we think, or at least I was trained to think and to believe, you live your life for God, you serve God, you do certain things, and certain going to happen for you. And so that was my belief. I lived like that. I got married, and then my husband and I wanted to begin a family, and it just didn't happen. And so we tried everything. And when I say everything, and again, so first let me talk about how the mental, emotional part that happens when you aren't able to just conceive. And all of your friends, and if you're a woman and you're young or were young, you know what that is like. All your friends are having babies, and never upset that someone else was having a baby. It was like, okay, God, what about me? I've lived for you. I'm living for you.
Mercy.
Holy is who I desire to be every day. And it didn't happen. And so, tenacious person, I'm like, okay, if it's not going to happen like this, God remedies, and let's utilize them all. And so my husband and I embarked on IVF, which is in vitro fertilization. So at that time, when we were embarking upon this, first of all, I had never heard of it. outside of on not Dr. Phil Donahue. I
Mm,
remember years ago hearing about it. But as
mm,
a Black woman, I didn't know anybody who had personally gone through that. So here I'm having to do a lot of research. I'm having to find
mm.
doctors. I was, as Beverly said, we met in Bermuda. I was in Bermuda at the time, and they were not abreast of that. And so here I was with this dilemma. I don't have a support team because I am from Miami, Florida. I married a Bermudian, and I am there.
Mm.
And what happens with mental health, it a lot of times happens in isolation. When
Yes.
there's a trend life, there's a crisis, our supports are not as strong. What we know as normal routine has been intersected by chaos. And so that's what happened with me, because there was a moment in my mind prior to that point that I thought that I would not be able biological mom. And so that was what mental health was for me.
Mm.
The idea of wrapping my mind around the possibilities that I would never be able to be a mother. And
Wow.
people didn't understand. And people don't talk, and they don't say things. Most times it's very inappropriate or completely out of order of what needs to be said for somebody who is in that state, and especially with Christians. Oh, it's God's will. Well, how do you know that? Did God tell you that?
Mm. Did God have a conversation with you about me?
About me. And so
Mercy.
sometimes people say that because it's easier for them, right?
Mm.
Or don't worry, I had mothers. If you knew what I knew, you wouldn't have it. Well, you've had the opportunity to have that experience. And now you want to put this dim hope on my desire without
Mm.
taking the time to even say, wow, I can't imagine what that would be like. And
Wow.
I was the type of person, I was the bride that my goal was to be pregnant on my honeymoon and have a baby 9 months later and have
Honeymoon
a
baby.
husband 9 months after that. That was my bridal showers were baby showers. That's
Mm.
how I desired motherhood. And so it did not happen for me that way. And as I stated that my husband and I, his name is John, we embarked upon IVF. And so we were believing, okay, God, if it's not going to happen this way, we're trusting you. You've given doctors medical advances to do things to help support us through different difficulties in life. So we went through that, didn't happen. Went through it twice, didn't happen. Time, and I almost died. And it was at that point that my husband said, I'm not willing to risk you for something that may never be our reality.
Mm.
How daunting is that, to think that your reality. I remember I struggled. Like I said, I was in a foreign country and I had met people acquainted. But it's nothing like your just support system. And so Beverly, that's where you and I connected. We met at a
Absolutely.
job. And I remember the first day, I could tell you, you had on a navy suit and you had on an off-white top. I remember that. And my husband and I dropped you up to Southampton. It was your very first day. And the
So
other,
wait 1 second. So just let everybody know that you're the one with the elephant brain who can remember everything. I don't remember anything. I remember when we met, but I don't remember the details. But I trust.
yes,
Go on.
yep, it was a Monday in November.
Oh, I believe you.
Yes. And so again, like even with our life and our relationship with God, we just don't know who God's going to connect us with to help us on the journey. So not at that time did I have any idea that I wouldn't be able to have children when I met you.
Right.
No, no.
No,
I knew I wasn't able to have them biologically.
right,
I
right,
knew that, but I didn't know that I would never be able to have
right.
them. But I didn't have any idea that meeting that one person that would be there with me. And I can give you an example. One day I remember it was so difficult for me. I was dressed ready for work. When I say dressed up, I was dressed up,
I
hose,
remember this
heels,
day.
scarf. You remember this
I
day?
do.
I had on a gray sweater suit. I remember that. And I told my husband, I can't go to work. I need you to drop me off to Beverly. And I remember going, knocking on your door.
I do.
And Angelica and Alea were there, little girls. And I told you, I'm just having a rough time and I need to sit and I need to lay on your sofa. And I laid on your sofa that day and I cried and I slept and I
I
cried
remember.
and we talked. And those are the tears. And so mental health affects people differently.
Yes.
And so for me, I'm one of 8 of my mom's children. All of my siblings, except for one brother, had children. My mom is one of 14. All of her sisters
Wow.
had many children. So for me to go through life and not have this, and cousins, we were
That's all
good.
you knew.
We were good people to procreate. Like that was something that our family had been blessed with. But here I was given this. At the time, it felt like a burden. I'm now open to the possibilities of seeing how it is a blessing.
Wait. You said now you are open to the possibilities of seeing how it's a blessing.
Sure.
That is profound.
Yeah.
You
Because
don't quite see it as a blessing. You're not there.
No, thing that happens in life, God can bring glory and God can and will get glory out of it. And I do know that God turns beauty from ashes.
Yes.
And so and it hasn't been years. Yes, like your kids are what age? And so we're talking about over 2 decades of this.
Yes.
And just because it's over 2 decades, that doesn't mean that it's easy. And it doesn't mean that the process doesn't take a long time, right?
Girl.
And so that's the part with mental illness. And I knew God, I can't do this alone. And praying, that's what I did. I grew up praying and trusting and believing God. And I did that with all my heart. I also knew that I needed to see a therapist. And that was the appointment that I had because I didn't have a support group that understood.
Wait. Let's pause. Okay. Say that again. Just rewind and say it again, because I think somebody needs to hear it again. You knew you had to get a therapist. Why?
Because I knew that I didn't have support with all of the people that I knew. This was not a normal process for them. Exactly. So this was an anomaly. And when you don't know, you don't know. And when you don't know, you're not best to assist and or support. So I knew I needed to reach outside of my comfort zone of support for me.
Yes.
Because I didn't be bruised and battered forever because of something that I had no control over, something that had nothing to do with me, that I could not control. And then again, how it wears on your faith it wears on your faith.
Yeah.
With wearing on your face, where do you go with your faith with that? How do you process this? Because for me, growing up as devoted to God as I was, my family was, we didn't talk about these things in relationship to God. These were not the conversations we had. Everything was trust in God's will. Well, I hear that. So what?
And anything else?
Right. But again, because it was more so that they didn't have the answers, and putting it off on God, sometimes it comes very
easy.
Very easy, very easy. And so I said, I'm in the process of a blessing because along this journey, meeting people like, I saw how helpful you were to me during that time. So it just doesn't end because it's been so long. Because although I wasn't able to have children 20 years ago, well, I don't have a lot because of that. Like we will never.
I didn't hear you.
I said, because we didn't have children 20 years ago, that's not the end of it.
Oh, got you.
Because there are graduations, there are miles. Those are the things so it just didn't affect us then, it affects us all the way in life. and being able to process as you go through different stages of it because it affects you differently. And so my husband and I would get thoughts and support so-called from people, well, why don't you adopt? And so my question to me is why I have to adopt. That's where I was
Mm,
initially. And then what I've also understood is that adoption is not for everyone. And so
mm.
my husband and I made a decision and an agreement. If we were not on the same page at the same time, we would not make a decision that would affect either both of us for the rest of our lives. And
Mm.
so we've lived by that for the most part, not always, but we definitely.
Hey,
Truth,
we ain't in
right?
heaven. It ain't perfect.
Right, the naked truth, right?
Naked truth.
Right.
Right.
But that wasn't the answer for us because we were
Mhm.
never on the same page at the same time. And is that something that could be self-afflicted? No, for us, that just wasn't our answer. And even in the midst of that, we fostered. You and your girls know our foster daughter we fostered, Ajalon Cachet Alpha Wilson, as a baby. And yet, as love as we have for her and as much as she has for us, she was someone else's child who
Yes.
we were just given guardianship over for a period of time, and we were clear with that. So in
Yes.
spite of our desires to be parents, we knew that she was not ours
Yes.
for us to permanently have. It was just to ensure that this beautiful innocent child did not have to go through the foster care system. And
Right.
so, because of the intervention of my husband and I, this young woman now never was in the care of foster care.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yep.
That is absolutely beautiful. And even, I mean, because, I mean, we're talking about mental health issues,
Mhm.
and even like how you're talking about how she was never in a foster care situation.
Right.
You can imagine the struggles she may have had she had to go through the system.
Absolutely.
But because you all were there as such great support systems for her.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's exactly what we're talking about tonight, being nurtured, support, and the critical role it plays in mental health.
Right, absolutely. And if I can just say this, I saw someone wrote in the chat about Plan B.
Oh, Plan
And
B?
yes,
Oh,
someone wrote
learning to embrace Plan B. Yes.
and is that Paquel?
Paquel.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so that's a nice segue because as Beverly said, that in a couple of weeks, less than a month, I'll be defending my dissertation. And that was not my greatest desire. My greatest
Mhm.
desire was to be a mom. And I read in my high school yearbook a couple of weeks ago, and it said one of my dreams was to get a PhD.
Mm.
I don't even know at 17 if I fully understood what getting a PhD.
You heard it. You heard it from someone.
I heard it from someone. I know my elementary school principal and my middle school principal had
Yeah.
ED and PhD, so I knew that.
Yeah.
But I wrote that. And so my mom would always say to me, a dream deferred is not always denied.
Denied. Absolutely.
And I didn't like that either because it didn't answer my question. And again, the mental capacity that you have to be agile enough to move your thoughts, no matter
Yeah.
what you firmly believe here, but is that how God wants you to always believe,
Mm.
right? There's so much more of God that we need to learn and grow into. And so, upon the journey of life and living, so we weren't able to be biological parents, but God is so amazing. And if we hold on to Him, that even
Yes.
through the struggles of going through mentally and emotionally, other dreams do come. And I don't even call it a plan B for Quell. I call it fulfilling life out.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
That is such a, I would be here all night, but then some people, they would miss the others, and we got to let them get on. But I just thank you so much for just sharing
Mhm.
a snippet of your life story. I know it is encouraged and empowered. And I want you to repeat that last. It's not a plan B. That's I want to get that again. It's not a plan B. It's what?
It's just fulfilling the plan. I don't remember exactly, but it's just fulfilling life's plan,
Yeah,
right? Like plan B is like second best, and how when as believers, that is never second best. It is
never. God's
always,
plan is always the best
always,
plan.
oh, and it's always unfolding. As long as we
Absolutely.
trust and we believe, and sure, we might be hurt and disappointed. That's what happens in life. Yet in the midst of that, there's
Yes.
such amazing muscle strength of faith and trust and hope and courage that comes from that. Because when I tell you, like, had we been parents, I can't tell you what life would be like, but I can
Mm.
tell you how life is without them. And even despite that hurt, that twigs at time, even now, I know that I'm still so blessed beyond
Amen. I
all
feel like
measure.
I'm in church. And
Yeah.
let me say this, my soul sister, man, you handle those tears real good, man. I thought they was just going, but
Well,
thank you.
they're here.
Hey, a lot of people watching, so you holding them back.
Thank
I
you for listening. Yep,
I
absolutely.
thank you so much for sharing your story.
Mhm.
I see something in the chat, Bev. I have to, okay, no problem. You got to go. I get that. But thanks for stopping in. And I just want you all to hang in there. We have just two more people.